Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. I just want to greet you and say thank you for being subscribers on my channel. Thank you for being just casual viewers. Whatever you are, I thank you for that. I wanted to do a very quick video today and talk to you about why I'm so passionate about this OSAS stuff. Why I speak so strongly about it. Those of you that don't know what OSAS means, it just stands for once saved, always saved. To some degree, that is true. Once you are saved, you're always saved in the sense of God does not take his salvation back from you. When you give your life to the Lord, he's not going to take his salvation back. He's not going to say, give it back to me. You're making me mad. But you can lose it. You can lose it. I believe that once God saves us and we give him our life, he never intends to revoke that from you. But I believe that people can throw it back in his face. Now, let's get to why I am so passionate about this. Because yesterday I dropped a few videos on it. And there was one video that I was led to share and to do like days before that. And then OSAS folks were, coming and saying all these different things, which over the years, whenever I've touched on this subject, they go in a, full tilt boogie mode, but the problem that I have with it and why I really talk about it so much passionately when I'm led to do so is because I think of all the souls that's going to be lost following that. That's number one. I think of people who initially come to the Lord with every intentions of wanting to be transformed by God, and then they get around these people or get in these ministries that's telling them, they don't have to try to be changed. I think of what that would look like in eternity. That's one. The other thing that really, really gets to me is how some people, they come to the Lord out of fear of eternal damnation. I mean, that's pretty much it for the most part for some of them. But yet they continue to walk in unrighteousness. It bothers me that these individuals they come to God with ulterior motive. I want to get something out of you, but I'm not going to change. I want to get something in addition to the sacrifice of Jesus. I'm glad he did that, but I still want to live how I want to live. And I think of that in natural terms of how any of us would feel being in a marriage, being in a relationship, and you're with someone that really loves you and really has a lot of loyalty and faith to you, or you may have that, and then you may be with a person that is loyal and faithful and kind, and all you want to do is just get what you can get from them without returning the loyalty, without returning the faithfulness, there may be some intermittent kindness, there may be some things you like about them, but you continue to not give your entire self to this person who loves you. I imagine a marriage where one person is committed and loves the person, and they hold the person to their vows to love them and to protect them, but yet they're out there doing things that can hurt their spouse, that really violates the trust and the loyalty and they still have an expectation of their spouse being loving to them. I imagine someone liking the fact that they have a loyal friend that they can trust, they can depend on them for anything, to be there for them. But then in their hearts they know, I like what you can give me as a friend, but I don't intend to be loyal and faithful to you. I'll do some things, but I already know that I'm not going to do certain things because you already showed me and demonstrated that you're a good friend, and I like what you offer, but I'm not going to be able to return the same thing. And what will happen with people like this? Oh, they will justify and say, well, is friendship really about what I can do for you? I mean, we're friends, right? So why are you judging me on what I don't do? Friendships are friendships. A friendship is a friendship. I think what bothers me is I remember when I was unsaved, or even when years ago, when I felt like I was not where God needs me to be, I made that choice that I was not going to play with God. I did not turn and twist scripture. I knew I was wrong. I knew that where I was wrong. And I needed help. And so I was not inclined to still try to be wrong and strong in God. I just continued to ask the Lord to help me. Please, please help me. I began to search the scripture. I began to fast and ask God to help me. I couldn't fast very long at the time. So I would fast just based on what I could do. And I kept going to God, and I felt the changes begin to happen within me eventually, where I was delivered. And what bothers me with a lot of these individuals is that they're being so entitled in their salvation, and they feel that they can get things from God. They are very bold in the way they deal with God, in the sense of they're going to choose to live certain ways. And they can say, well, I'm still a child of God, and they're still handling the things of God, and they're still walking up into the churches and going into before the people and preaching and teaching and doing all these things and playing on the instruments. There's such a boldness, such a crass attitude that like they have a right. When I was a sinner and I knew that I had gone rogue, I knew I was wrong for that. Not once did I ever think that I can be unholy and unrighteous on purpose and still have an expectation, and then telling other people, hey, sin does not matter. I mean, if you can help it, try not to. But if you don't, God is still going to just take you into heaven. God takes us as we are. But through his power, he can transform us. And as I said before, it's kind of like there's a shower there. Someone invites you in their home, and they said, hey, you need to get clean so I can show you the rest of the house and show you where you can lay down. I have a clean rooms. I have a clean place, clean area. But you need to bathe. You need to get all that stuff off from when you were living out on the streets. And the person just comes in and they go in the shower. They see everything they're needed to clean themselves. They've been given all these things, but all they're focused on is, oh, I have a place to live now. I don't want to shower. Why should I have to shower? You let me in. Why can't I just lay in the bed as is? Why can't I wear the same street clothes I've always worn? This is what I'm comfortable in. Why can't I just be who I am? You let me in. There's a lot of people, they want to live and continue in the same way, but they don't want to be cleansed. The person doesn't want to go in the shower to get clean. The tools and everything is right there that they can scrub off that stuff. They can take off those clothes that they've walked around in as derelicts. but they don't want to. They don't like the shower. They'll complain about the water pressure's too low. That's not the ideal shower head. The water pressure's too high. I don't like the soap. I don't like what you want me to use to rinse this off. Let me just stay here. Thank you that you've let me in. I will live here, but I'm not going to get clean. And then what happens? The focus will be on, you promised me that I can stay here. You already had me here. You invited me in. Why do I have to change? Why do I have to be clean? So they'll continue to lay on everything in their dirty clothes and lay on the new furniture, the clean bed, the go in the kitchen, handle things. Their hands are so dirty. You see, when you see that visual, we can kind of go, wow, yeah. But there's some people who are not able to see these things when it comes to God. Because there's this idea that people have that God has no feelings, that God is just there to cater to us. No one wonders why it is that we can get hurt in our heart, we can cry, we can be angry, we can be disappointed. We're made in His image and His likeness. That means He can feel rejected, He can feel hurt, He can feel angry, He can feel disappointed. All those things can happen. He can feel betrayed. He can feel let down. And so I think that is something that really bothers me, that there are people who want salvation and then at the same time they are rogue. I understand, and I am not saying that everyone has to be absolutely perfect, dotting every I and crossing every T. We are still a work in progress. But what I am saying to you is, I know that God can transform us. None of us has the authority to decide at what point anyone should be delivered and should be over their sins. We can't do that because we all have our individual walk. However, there is an expectation of transformation. You must understand that nothing unclean shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. So while God takes us as we are, He has a transforming power to change us and to remove things from us that does not please Him. And He does it through His power, His grace, and His mercy. Is not to aid and abet us in sin. And so my rants, my anger at times comes from people willfully wanting to take their salvation for granted. There is no way that any believer can say that they do not see the scriptures about sin in the Bible. They cannot ignore that there is no disclosure in there or nothing in there that states verbatim that we as believers of God can sin and still enter into heaven. It is not there. But people will argue that. And so I just get upset because I think of all the souls that will be lost because of this. I also think of people who enter into the houses of God, or they get around individuals who say that they're Christians and they want God. They're hungering and thirst. They have a hunger and a thirst for God, and they want to be transformed. But then these individuals will put out their fire and they're going to tell them, you don't have to change anything. And I imagine the initial confusion of these individuals. And I imagine perhaps the discomfort in feeling that they can continue to do whatever they were doing before they became a believer, and now trying to do it as a believer. I imagine the conviction or the feeling of this can't be right. And I imagine them learning to override that to the point that they no longer feel any conviction whatsoever. And then now they become justified. It makes me think of Matthew 23 when it says they'll get someone when the Pharisees will go and travel land and by sea to bring a new convert in, and what they do is they turn that person into a greater child of hell than themselves. My position on once saved, always saved will never change. I believe that when God gives us eternal life, when God gives us salvation, He does not intend to take it back. But I know and believe that people can throw it back in His face. I am bothered and deeply moved and deeply just offended by individuals who want to get what they can get from God and do the bare minimum, if at all. I understand that there may be people who are blinded by their sins and they struggle. And I pray that the blinders will be removed from their eyes and they'll be able to see clearly what's before them. But there are people who are set in their ways, and then they continue to be a stumbling block to others. That is what bothers me. As humans, we would never tolerate that type of behavior from anyone else, trying to get what they can get. Amazingly, there are people who have cut people off for far less than that. But yet they think a holy and sovereign God is supposed to take whatever scraps that we throw out, whatever breadcrumbs we want to give to Him, and that we can continue to do things that are offensive against Him, that are sinful. Nothing about the crucifixion of Jesus and the way He suffered, the way He went to His Father 3 different times asking if it's possible that this cup be taken from Him. Nothing about His beatings, nothing about how they were pulling His hair and ripping out His beard, nothing how He was spit in the face and hit so many times and beaten beyond human recognition, and then finally suffered great agony on the cross and was alive for several hours on the cross, dying slowly, horrible death, being pierced in His side. This does not matter enough to these individuals. They're still saying, thank you, and I can keep sinning. And that is what is a great offense. And that is why Hebrews 10 is so important to read, because it says that basically these individuals, if they habitually continue to sin, even after such a great sacrifice, not only is there no more sacrifice for sins, but they have trampled the Son of God underfoot, and they have offended the Spirit of grace. So guys, I pray that these individuals will get it. Maybe there's some that's really lost and they're blind. And for those, I pray that they will be delivered. However, there's some, they're not lost. They're not blind. They've never wanted to live right for God. They just want to make sure they don't go to hell. And that's a huge difference. All right, guys.